This is the business of sports.
Sports are the greatest unscripted show on earth.
The next generation of players really grew up with tech and believe in tech.
Your face is your ticket. Your face is your wallet. Your face is your access to a club.
These are such iconic and important buildings for businesses, for fans.
COVID was one of the best things that ever happened to golf.
The NFL is a bulletproof business.
Racing's unique because there is absolutely no reason why we can't compete with the guys.
Come on, is pro pickleball real? Are people really going to tune into this?
If you're playing Moneyball with a huge bag of money, you're going to be really, really good.
Bloomberg Business of Sports from Bloomberg Radio.
This is the Bloomberg Business of Sports, where we explore the big money issues in the world of sports. I'm Michael Barr, along with my colleagues Damian, Sassower, and Vanessa Perdomo. Coming up on the show, we'll hear from NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman as we get ready for another season of hockey.
You look for big events, for big stories, and you use every platform imaginable, whether it's linear, streaming platform, social media, and no different than what we did in February with the Four Nations tournament. I mean, we created something that even if you weren't a hockey fan, even if you weren't a sports fan, you felt compelled to tune in because it was so topical and so intriguing, people wanted to know more.
Bettman spoke on stage alongside Monumental sports and entertainment founder Ted Leonsis in a panel moderated by our own Scarlet recently at Bloomberg Power Players New York. All that is on the way on the Bloomberg Business of Sports. But first, the next Winter Olympics are right around the corner, and preparations are well underway for the next Summer Olympics that hit Los Angeles in 2028. To give us an update on all things Olympics, we welcome back Sarah Hirshland. She's Chief Executive Officer of the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee. Sarah, welcome back to the Bloomberg Business of Sports. I am so glad that you have joined us, and I want to talk about some of the things that you're doing with the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee. Where do you see it now for the upcoming games? Where do you see the committee heading in this race?
Well, as you know, in February, we will take a delegation of Team USA to Italy, anchored in Milan, but with a strong presence up in Cortina, Livigno. So we'll be spread across the Italian Alps with what I will say is one of the strongest winter Team USA teams we've seen in quite some time. So we're optimistic and excited.
My goodness, spread across the Italian Alps. It doesn't sound too bad, does it, Michael?
No, I think we can tag along.
Yeah, I think
you need someone to carry the luggage, just call me, Sarah.
Yeah. So in this time, in the next few months, what are, what's your biggest, things that you have to worry about and that you have to strategize for Team USA to be ready for those games in February?
Well, a few pretty important things. Number one, we've got to make sure all the athletes qualify. Mm-hmm. So there is quite a series of, as we like to say, making Team USA. You got to make the Olympic and Paralympic team first. Mm-hmm. So a lot of qualification events. Those will actually start here very soon across all of the winter sports. And then there will be some team selections, as you can imagine, something like our ice hockey teams. Those coaches and captains will go through a process of selecting the individual athletes who will represent us on those teams. So you got to qualify first. Our organization is spending a lot of time making sure we have all of the logistics in place so that when we get on the ground, these athletes have all of the support resources that they're accustomed to in their training environments. And that's everything from nutrition to recovery equipment to sports medicine support, making sure that they can be in an environment that's going to allow them to reach their highest potential at exactly the right moment. And the core, the secret, if you will, that's not such a secret is we always say if we get Team USA to the start line healthy, we like our chances.
Yeah.
So, Sarah, for me, it's the question I have is, what are you doing? 2025 is an off year, but there's so much preparation that goes hand in hand with getting the venues ready, getting actually the athletes ready. Where are you most focused right this minute?
It's the year after a summer games and right before Winter Games is naturally a bit of a transition year for us. So you're right. It's a combination of some long-term planning, obviously the short-term planning and work that goes into preparations for the Winter Games, But it's also an opportunity for us to make sure that we're focused on, what's on the long horizon, and are we set up properly to drive a good, strong, healthy sport culture for many years to come. So we do work on what we call quadrennial planning, a 4-year long-range plan, looking out ahead. Obviously, for us, we're in the unique situation of having the LA 28 games in our next 4-year cycle. So it is getting the people, getting the resources in place, human and financial, to be ready.
In late July, the committee, they updated its policies on transgender athletes. Can you tell us more about what the committee decided?
A real, and this has been, as you guys well know, a really robust discussion, I would say, across global sport, across this country, but also with our peers around the world. And I think there's a very strong commitment in many places, many countries, many hallways in the United States, a very strong commitment to protecting women's sports in particular, and a real focus on ensuring that the gains we've made in the U.S. in particular continue to provide fair opportunities, safe opportunities for women to compete in sport. And that's really exactly what this is about.
And that obviously comes off of the back of President Trump's declaration, right, of keeping women's sports and protecting women's sports. Is that right?
That's right. The administration and the president in particular have been, really vocal on this topic. And it's an area where we see tremendous support from the public at large. People understand fairness in sport and safety in sport above all else. Athletes will tell us it's the single most important 2 issues to them. And so we feel a real obligation to make sure we're listening and paying attention to what is it going to take to provide both a safe environment, but also, fairness, that everyone feels like they arrive on the field to play with a level playing field.
Sarah, talk to me about ski mountaineering. It's a new sport in 2026. What other new sports are coming to the Olympics in the not too distant future?
Well, that's the one in 2026 on the winter side. And it will be, there are people in the United States who are ski mountaineer athletes. And so we will hope to have a team there competing. But not something that's been, mainstream and really popular. So I think the U.S. will find it fun. It's quite an endurance sport, and we tend to like the endurance sports. You could almost liken it to long distance running or cycling, but the combination of some endurance and some speed. So it'll be fun to watch. When we get to Los Angeles on the summer side, we know we'll see squash. We'll see flag football, and I'll call out in particular there. That one will be fun for both men and women. We'll see baseball, softball come back. We'll see lacrosse come to the games for the first time. And we'll see, I think I mentioned squash, and we'll see cricket for the first time. So some very popular global sports back in the games in Los Angeles.
Obviously, we saw a huge resurgence, just felt like a big resurgence in 2024 at the Paris Games, just being so successful. And then now, kind of, not to take a step back, but what's going on with college athletics, and given the NCAA House settlement that now was passed that looks to potentially have some adverse effects on Olympic-style sports. Are you at all worried about that, given that a lot of Team USA is made up of college athletes or athletes that train at colleges?
We have been very vocal for some time, years now, in the halls of Congress and among our peers in the collegiate space, advocating for the preservation of broad-based sport opportunities on our campuses. The U.S. is the envy of the world. We are the greatest sporting nation in the world, and a huge component of that is the education-based sports system that we have always enjoyed. And so to see that sports system threatened and changing in, elementary, middle school, high schools, as it has, and to now see that broad-based sport offering threatened at the collegiate level is absolutely concerning to us. And so, yes, we are very focused on it. We're advocating, we're lobbying, and we're sitting at every table that we can to be part of the conversation around creating solutions.
Mm-hmm. further to that, how does name, image, likeness affect you? How does it affect Olympic athletes? Do you see there be incentives, for them to move away from amateur sports from the Olympics? Or what are you doing to compete with all that?
I think the important thing is we have to separate true name, image, likeness from the pay-to-play environment. And that unfortunately hasn't happened effectively in the collegiate environment. We are and have been huge advocates for athletes to capitalize on their name, image, and likeness to generate income. We've been supporters of that at the Olympic and Paralympic level. We're supporters of that at the collegiate level. And there are athletes who've been wildly successful in becoming, marketing geniuses in their own right and capitalizing on their name, image, and likeness to drive real income. And that's good and positive and should be encouraged. But the distinction between that and what has become recruiting endorsements is a very different thing. And that's where the struggles and challenge in collegiate athletics is navigating how you properly ensure athletes have the ability to earn in an appropriate and fair way. We have the same sort of, principles and premises. We would love for Team USA athletes to have significantly greater income than they do. We're working really hard to improve upon that. In fact, this year was a huge milestone for us. You guys know a big part of our revenue and our funding comes from the American public through philanthropy. We had our first $100 million donation by an incredibly generous gentleman and his family named Ross Stevens, who created the Stevens Awards. And that is income directly to athletes. It's a $100,000 grant and $100,000 life insurance for athletes who make Team USA. And the Winter Games in 26 will be the first group of athletes who receive that benefit. So a lot of us are working on the right ways to ensure athletes have earning. The key is to make sure that we do it in ways that's going to incent the right behaviors.
Sarah Hirshland, Chief Executive Officer of the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee. We are so grateful that you came to join us and talk with Bloomberg's Business of Sports. We really do appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure to be with you guys. Thank you.
Up next, we turn to sports tech and a firm investing in the people and products that will power the future of sports. From our colleagues Vanessa Perdomo and Damian Sassower, I'm Michael Barr. You are listening to the Bloomberg Business of Sports, Bloomberg Radio around the world.
This is Bloomberg Business of Sports from Bloomberg Radio.
This is the Bloomberg Business of Sports, where we explore the big money issues in the world of sports. I'm Michael Barr, along with my colleagues Damian Sassower and Vanessa Perdomo. Now for a look at the sports tech world. 76 Capital is a sports tech venture capital company that focuses on the people and products that are building the data, analytics, and technology that will power the future of sports. Joining us now is Wayne Kimmel. He's managing partner at 76 Capital. Wayne, welcome to the Bloomberg Business of Sports.
Thanks for having me. This is really exciting to be here.
I'm excited because you know me. I hate the, yes, I bet. Yes, I do. And I'm not good at it, but I bet. Have we hit a point now where the market has saturated with online betting?
Not yet. I mean, I really don't think we've hit a point yet. And we certainly have where DraftKings and FanDuel have taken the lead with betting today. But at the same time, you've got BetMGM, Fanatics nipping at their heels. You've got also at the same time the prediction markets. And that's a whole nother can of worms, which really now has betting legal in 50 different states now, not just the 38, 39, 40, whatever it is, the regulated states. Now it's everywhere. So it's really, really interesting to see what's going to happen next. But for us, look, it's all about making sure that betting is safe and fun. And we're just making sure that there's true integrity, there's real compliance with everything that's going on across that. And that's where, one of our companies, IC360, is right in the middle of all that.
Mm-hmm. Which is really important, obviously. And when we're talking about security and all that, and it's particularly struggling right now in the prediction markets, I would say, right? It's a little bit less regulated there. There's those things there that aren't really regulated as much. So how do you figure that when it comes to the entire betting process?
Well, look, I think in general, what we really want to make sure is that there's true integrity and there's really no anomalies across the whole space. And that's what our team at IC360 really works on to make sure, and just making sure that people are doing the right thing, right? I mean, I think that's the key to everything. If everything's on the up and up, we can't let professional sports turn into a scripted something like wrestling. Like, it can't be that. We need to be able to be in a position where we know that what's going on the field is really what's happening. And that's the most important thing for us.
Wayne, you're the managing partner of 76 Capital. And the reason Michael Barr and we started asking about sports betting is because that's really been your focus for the better part of the last few years. And, but you at 76, you invest in all sorts of different companies of all different shapes and sizes. And I just have to ask you, that world of sports as an asset class, talk to us about exit strategies, because it's really easy to invest in a good idea. And it's really, really difficult to crystallize that in terms of returns for you and your partners. So talk to us a little bit about your approach, how you work with these companies, how you get them cash flow positive, and how you get them in, into cruising altitude.
Yeah, I think what's really important is to make sure that these companies are truly ready to go and sort of moving forward and working with our companies so that they then can be one of those companies that we can sell, like we did with VSiN, selling them to DraftKings, or selling a company to Fubo TV, or the pylon cams you see on NFL fields that was sold to Cosm, and then Cosm raised $250 million to open up more of their venues. So for us, it's really all about getting behind amazing entrepreneurs who are truly doing something innovative. And most times the stuff that we invest in are companies that are involved that have hardcore technology, data, and analytics, and we really help those companies and help build those companies and make sure that they have relationships with the teams, the leagues, the sports betting regulators, the sports books themselves, and also, just think about, it could be at any part of the overall landscape, from professional sports where they work in, or college sports, or it could be even on the youth side of things. There's so much to do out there right now, but for us, it's really all about making sure that we get behind amazing companies, we get them moving, and then that they start to really execute and do what they need to do.
Well, Wayne, you made an interesting point there. I mean, all of those exits were selling to a private, right? Or, to a larger company. It wasn't a public listing, so to speak. It wasn't an IPO, the traditional way that a lot of, private equity investors try to cash in. But, talk to me about, the depth of that market, and an operator like you who's been in the business since, the late 90s, those relationships and how important they are. I mean, you have your athlete and residence program at 76. Talk to us a little bit about how you work with your investors, your constituents, and you kind of get to that point where you have those relationships that you can even take a good idea or a well-functioning opportunity and bring it to somebody's attention.
I think one of the big things that we do at 76 Capital is really work closely with our companies and help them with their marketing, with their branding, so they actually get out there into the market so that they are a brand name when it comes to the NFL or the NBA or any of those leagues. At the same time, we sometimes will use the help of an athlete who can help us maybe market the company a little bit to get them out there a little bit. So that's something that we'll certainly do. But I think the key for everything is really that these companies have the best technology that they have to be able to work really closely with incredible media companies like ESPN. I mean, as an example, one of our companies is literally powering the personalization and customization of the ESPN app that's out there today. We're super excited about that. And that's something that, you won't know the name of the business. It's not really that important, but it's when you see your fantasy and you see your bets and you see everything that's personalized to you, that's coming through the tech side of things.
I want to talk about, you were an investor in VSiN when the whole thing started. And I don't think people understand how much of an impact VSiN made on the market, because you used to have to go to the racetrack. Some guy is selling a tip, a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper that's all typed in. Now you can listen to VSiN, and if you want to do your homework on a bet, you can. Talk to us about that, about the impact of VSiN.
Well, VSiN was an unbelievable investment for us. I mean, getting the opportunity to work with the legendary Brent Musburger, his nephew Brian, Bill 80. These guys were just incredible, and they were always thinking about everything, 10 steps forward. So it was the idea of why shouldn't there be a network that lets you hear everything that's happening across the sports betting markets, just like here at Bloomberg, where you get to learn everything that's happening on the financial markets. And then not only have it be able to listen to it, but also broadcast it like you guys do right from the floor of the exchange, which at the time, our first studio was in the South Point in Las Vegas, the only 24-hour sports betting book that was open at the time. It was amazing to be there and be in the middle of all that and had the glass studio in there and really built that out. But now they're at Circa and in many other places. I mean, they're continuing to really build that. We sold that company to DraftKings. Now it's private again. They have it back, but it's one of those things where it was all about those entrepreneurs, their ideas, going out and getting really great hosts, to really make sure you had authentic voices. That was one of the most important things, right? You had to really know what minus 110 means, not negative.
That is, it's a learning curve for sure. And I just hit my first big bet actually this week. Really pumped about it. Hit
Congrats.
a $400 bet. It was awesome.
Whoa! No,
yeah,
you don't.
I hit a $400 bet
that.
this weekend, Michael. Be jealous. It was amazing. So my nails for my bachelor party are gonna be free. Which is awesome. So one of the things you were talking about there, and you're talking about VSiN, and you're talking about like the pylon cam and things like that. Those are more forward-facing, like for consumer businesses, right? And then you have other things that you invest in on the analytics side, the baseball and basketball, shot tracker, those things that really help the sport in itself. When you're looking at what to invest in the space, which are you really looking at more? What would you say is more for your interest or has a bigger impact on the sport?
Yeah, the big thing for us is really, whether it's on the field, off the field, for the consumer, for the business, it's really just making sure that there's the core of everything is all around tech, data, and analytics. So, you mentioned Shot Tracker and Diamond Kinetics on the baseball side. I mean, like Shot Tracker on the basketball side of things, really being able to use that information, use that data to enable you to be a better player. And that could be at the youth level, that could be at the college level, all the way up to the pro side of things. So I think like the whole thing for us is just making sure that you have really the best of the best tech, and that's a big part of what we look for.
Wayne, we were kidding offline here about the phenomenal valuations that specifically the NFL, but all professional sports teams are now fetching in the open market. Some of these transactions, I mean, I'll just give our audience, I think the Dallas Cowboys, which were the most valuable franchise heading into this year per Sportico at $10.3 billion, it's now estimated to be $14.5 billion, right? Same 1.2, billion in revenue per year, but my question for you, as we were talking about it offline, is what do these team owners need to do to justify those valuations? I mean, is it IP? Is it a technology? I mean, what can they do to realize anywhere near what the market values are going for now?
I think one of the big things for us, certainly, and it's certainly the theme of everything that we do at 76 Capital, is the idea. You look at every other industry and every other company that has gone from where they are today or where they were in the past and how they've continued to grow. That's what needs to happen here in sports, and what they use and what they do in many cases is that's where they use the tech side of things. And so for us to be able to bring in ways for you to now monetize your fan base even more through the use of technology. So that could even be, one of our companies, as an example, is Boomerang is actually, and Boomerang is a technology company that enables lost and found, easily to find something. So if you lose something at Madison Square Garden at a Knicks game this year, you can easily get it back through using Boomerang. Same thing, Fenway Park. Same thing at many NFL stadiums, many other NFL arenas around the country. But those are the types of things. If you use technology to enable your team to get better on the field, for you to be able to monetize your fans, and that's where we believe the values of these enterprises, which today some people say are high, but we believe they can go even higher because we're just getting going with that. Because also the thing is that if you start to think about the types of people also that are now owning these teams, they have done this in other industries. This isn't the first go-round for some of these masters of the universe, we'll call them, right, who are now owning a lot of these teams. They've done this before. They've actually gone in and bought companies and then taken those companies to the next level and then sold them. And that's what's going to happen. And we really believe that the reason for these valuations to continue to rise is because of the tech.
Our thanks to Wayne Kimmel for joining us. He's managing partner at 76 Capital, a firm that invests in the sports tech space. Up next, we look ahead to the new NHL season with NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman and Monumental Sports and Entertainment founder Ted Leonsis. For Vanessa Perdomo and Damian Sassower, I'm Michael Barr. Stick around. There's more straight ahead on the Bloomberg Business of Sports from Bloomberg Radio around the world.
This is Bloomberg Business of Sports from Bloomberg Radio.
Thanks for joining us on the Bloomberg Business of Sports, where we explore the big money issues in the world of sports. I'm Michael Barr. The NHL kicks off its regular season this week. Recently, NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman was at Bloomberg World Headquarters in New York for our annual Power Players event. He spoke on stage alongside Monumental Sports founder, chairman, managing partner, and CEO Ted Leonsis in a panel moderated by our own Scarlet Fu. Let's take a listen to a portion of their conversation.
Ted, you've built Monumental Sports, which includes the Caps NHL team, the Washington Wizards NBA team, the Mystics WNBA team, around this idea of increasing fandom. So I'm curious, what does that look like from the C-suite where you sit, and what does that look like to the average fan? How does it end up looking like for them?
We're spending most of our time now trying to capitalize on, we captured a new generation of fan, the Ovechkin effect, if you will. 20 years, all these young kids. We have the most active, one of the most active in North America, youth hockey. And you have to follow where the young people are, because that's who your fan base is going to be. And we have to fully make the pivot from linear, analog to digital. We've been global from day one. And, you know, we're in Washington, D.C., and the most popular athlete in the history of the community is Alex Ovechkin, a Russian. And so we spend all of our time trying to figure out how can we build a platform, be a really, really important business in this 10 million household community. Obviously, the linear part of that cable plant has shrunk. We bought our cable company, our RSN, from Comcast and NBC, and now we're able to make it a IP distribution network for us and a cross-promotion arm. And we put all of our games there. We've gotten renewals, but not only from the cable side, but now we can work with the YouTubes and the Amazons. And we think we have to become just embedded in the lives of 10 million people from Richmond, Virginia, all the way to Delaware.
So it looks very seamless from the fans' perspective because it's where it should be. Wherever they turn, there you are. Gary, in keeping with this idea of Alex Ovechkin, his quest to surpass Wayne Gretzky as the all-time scorer, obviously that was a big thing, but it's not a regular thing. You can't count on something like that happening every season. So how do you build on the momentum that was generated and continue to activate fans?
Well, that's a great question, but I want to add one thing, which is the best indication of what a visionary Ted is. He has created his own ecosystem, and they have content 24/7, 365 days a year that they create because he's aggregated all of the assets, whether it's teams in a variety of sports, the arena, or his own streaming platform. That's what makes it all work. And he has always been fan-facing, consumer-facing from the day you first bought the franchise, which was, 26?
Well, I was a season ticket holder before I bought the team. And
he's a fan first.
So what Ovechkin did is really what sports is about. It captures the imagination It gives people a chance to focus on things that are superhuman. You know, Alex broke a record that nobody thought was possible to break. And it's a testament to him, his physical prowess, his skill, his endurance, his ability to not get injured, and the support that he got from his organization in terms of the players they surrounded him with and everything they've done off the ice. So what do is you look for big events, for big stories, and you use every platform imaginable, whether it's linear, streaming platform, social media, and no different than what we did in February with the Four Nations tournament. I mean, we created something that even if you weren't a hockey fan, even if you weren't a sports fan, you felt compelled to tune in because it was so topical and so intriguing, people wanted to know more.
Your partnerships matter. As the CEO of a $300 billion company, as Ted put it, partnerships like TikTok on the Capital is Away jerseys, Roblox to create a metaverse experience. So that idea of teaming up with brands that matter to a younger audience that perhaps isn't trained to watch TV the same way we are.
There are two parts to answering that question. One is the authenticity and the game itself. And the good news for us, and I never like to talk about other sports, but when it comes to pace of play, there's more action. You can't be on your phone if you're watching.
You'll miss something.
You'll miss something because it happens fast and furious. So the amount of action to the amount of length of a game works very well for us, and it's compelling for younger people. The second thing is you've got to reach your fans and your would-be fans on their terms now, particularly now. You got to give them, as everybody says, what they want, when they want it, how they want it. It didn't get a lot of attention, but when the old deal in Canada with Rogers 12 years ago included a streaming component. It was really the first national sports league deal to do that, and our deal, most recent deal, with ESPN, and we have Amazon in Canada, we've always looked to see how can we use technology, not to change the game, but to take essential elements of the game and make them more fan or consumer friendly so that we can bring people inside the game. And that's where, because the game is so fast, using technology, puck and player tracking, does a couple of things for us. One, we're creating millions of data points a minute, and that's enabled fans to get inside the game and understand it better if they didn't grow up at hockey fans. And using the metaverse, we actually use the puck and player tracking to use animated versions of our game so that young people can get attracted to watching it using their favorite cartoon characters.
Yeah. And reimagining the game, especially on a global basis. We're the largest investor. I'm chairman of Team Liquid. And Team Liquid is the #1 esports in North America. We just came in second place in Saudi Arabia. It was $30 million in prize money that was awarded there. And we play on 11 different platforms. And you'll read, it's a winter, nuclear winter for esports. That's like saying the web, this was bad. In the mid-90s, the web blew up. Don't make any investments in web companies. I think 25 years ago, the company I helped to create, AOL, we had a $200 billion market cap. Microsoft had a $400 billion market cap. It's 25 years later, AOL doesn't exist. Microsoft has a $4 trillion market cap. And they've had to reinvent themselves. They're now an AI and cloud computing company. So Team Liquid, we play in 11 different platforms. And the people in Saudi Arabia, which are building a whole city and infrastructure for tourism, for their young people around esports. They said, what other sport can we reinvent and make competitive? And we said chess.
Chess?
Chess. Okay, now.
As an esport?
So we launched and we signed Magnus Carlsen, the world's most famous #1 chess player, and he won the world championship a couple of weeks ago, and it's boomed now with young kids. Young kids go, chess is cool. It's analytic, it's algorithmically oriented, you can train online, you can do multi-user games. So it's a really interesting loop, if you will. You can use technology to reinvigorate, what looked like an older sport. That's what I think we've done in the NHL. When I first came in 26 years ago, I said, this looks like a video game to me. I mean, you've got the glass, the players are out there, they're working as hard as they can, but for 30-second shifts. Alex probably stays out a little bit longer than he should. But the speed, the music, it was a video game come to life. Yeah. And I said, we have to connect that speed, the sounds, and like I got rid of the organ. I can't tell you how many older fans hated me. I said, but kids,
you got to move with the times.
Yeah, kids want different music. They don't want organ music. So just paying attention to the younger audience, and it's amazing how fast time goes. Gary, how long have you been commissioner?
32 years. 32
years. He's the most tenured commissioner. Not 10 years. He's got 32 years.
You're the longest serving commissioner in North American sports. As we talked about, 32 years. What kind of succession planning is taking place once you decide to move on?
The answer is I have a very strong bench. I have great executives who work with me, particularly at the C-suite level. I have a deputy commissioner who's been with me for 26 years, Bill Daly, who is terrific. And if I got hit by a bus walking out of here today, he could step in.
Let's hope not.
But it was funny. I've said to my executive committee, not that I'm getting ready to retire, but I said at some point we need to focus on this because I'm all most of them have ever known. I mean, there are 3 legacy families in Boston, Detroit, and Chicago, original 6 clubs. And then there's Ted and everybody new who's come in since I've been commissioner. And when you get identified with something as much as I have been, succession becomes an issue because question of style and presence and branding. But I'm also cognizant of the fact that at some point there needs to be a more youthful person pitching the brand.
That's a portion of a conversation with NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman and Ted Leonsis, founder and CEO of Monumental Sports and Entertainment, live from Bloomberg Power Players, New York recently. Our very own Scarlet Fu moderated that panel. And that does it for this edition of the Bloomberg Business of Sports. For my colleagues Damian, Sassower, and Vanessa Perdomo, I'm Michael Barr. Thank you for joining us. Tune in again next week for the latest on the stories moving big old money in the world of sports. You're listening to the Bloomberg Business of Sports from Bloomberg Radio around the world.